getting to know the Fae, redcaps. In keeping with the theme of spooky shit today because of the gloomy weather, let's talk about a malicious little guy called the redcap. Now, redcaps are a very malevolent member of the Fae umbrella. They largely come from Scottish folklore and can be found a little bit in English folklore. They are said largely to inhabit the ruined and broken down castles along the Anglo-Scottish border, especially ones that have been home to tyranny and misdeeds. They are known for the unaliving of travelers who have, left their homes, people who have strayed too far or crossed into their territory. In the folklore, they are labeled as murderous. And the way that they got their name redcap is they soaked their caps in the bodily fluids of their victims, giving it the red color. They're not a nice thing to run into or have around, and one that I would suggest not, tampering with. So, Fae versus fairies. A full in-depth explanation would go far beyond my time limit on TikTok, so I'm going to do my best with what I've got. Simply put, all fairies are Fae, but not all Fae are fairies. Your fairies are going to be more like the small humanoid ones, sometimes not necessarily small, but still more humanoid. Also can be called pixies, sprites, and they're usually depicted as being a little bit on the prettier or cuter side, depending on the belief system you look at. In some of them, fairies are fucking terrifying. But the Fae includes all of the Fae folk, which some people believe that extends to cryptids and other types of spirits. Some people believe that there's a smaller sect of species that are the Fae. This can include things like Brownies, Elves, redcaps, Gnomes, Mimics. If you jump into the cryptid world, you've got the Skinwalkers and the Wendigos. Not everybody agrees that those are Fae. I think they're Fae. They just fit in my mind. A lot of the Fae can be terrifying in nature, like physically the way that they look and their behaviors, but also you've got things like tree spirits that are also super creepy looking when you actually see one, but they're friendly. Fae are not always evil. Actually, they're not evil, but they're not something that you want to mess with and play around with if you don't know what you're doing. They can be very malicious and very vindictive, and they can fuck your world up if they want to. Fairies follow that same rule, though. Even if it's a beautiful, sweet-looking fairy, it's got a nasty side. A very nasty side. Some of the Fae look like eldritch horrors or things that came right out of a H.P. Lovecraft story. Others look a little bit more like your garden gnomes, or a really good depiction of one is the brownie. The house elves from Harry Potter are inspired by brownies and their physical description, and even a little bit more. That's where she drew the inspiration for those from. But they are magical folk that do not exist on this plane. They're here with us, but we can't see them because they're on a different plane or a different dimension, whichever way you choose to look at that. They're powerful creatures. They can be great to work with, but you got to know what you're doing. You have to know the protocol, and you have to understand respect of these creatures and their rules. Please ask me how I know. Getting to know the Fae. Today's Fae is the Banshee. A Banshee is a solitary Fae who is known by a couple of other names in Irish folklore. And my Irish people, please correct my pronunciation on this because I am bad at it, but Banshee or Bansith, I know I'm probably wrong. I would love a correction. Now, the Banshee is a solitary fae who is known for foretelling of the death of someone in a household. They would do this by wailing and screaming outside of the home. Older legends implied or stated that only a household of pure Irish ancestry could be warned by a Banshee, but later legends transformed this spirit kind of into more of a wraith and would state that that particular Banshee is connected to one specific household. And the thing that stayed the same there was that the wailing and the screaming would foretell of the imminent death of someone in that household. It just took away the need for a full-blooded Irish ancestry for them to be warned. Those are Banshees. Getting to know the Fae. Today we're going to talk about Pixies. Pixies are very well known through southwestern England, but they can be found in any kind of wooded or garden type area. They like to frequent patches of flowers. Now this is a kind that if you want to work with fairies, it would be a good option, as they genuinely enjoy interacting with humans. The problem is they don't understand human desperation, human pain, etc., because they don't have the same kind of emotional scale and morality scale that humans have. So they have been known to play tricks and pranks that humans don't necessarily enjoy. They're very playful, but at the same time they're very mischievous creatures. Like your brownies, they also will steal and move things around. Generally, if you give them an offering that they enjoy, they'll give your stuff back. Maybe. Sometimes they won't. They like to pick a particular area to call home, but if their homes get destroyed, they do become quite traumatized and they will go into hiding. If you want to attract them to your home and to your yard, things like fairy gardens and fairy houses, these are the kind of fae that you would use those for, because they adore them, most especially a garden with colorful flowers to play around in and lay around in. They're going to be one of your more humanoid-esque fae, but they are very tiny. In general, I wouldn't consider a pixie to be malicious, but I would call them mischievous. Fae species in under 2 minutes, starting with brownies. Brownies are your house fae. They're about 3 feet tall, a little bit browner in nature, and they're a little bit less vindictive and mischievous as some of the others. They started out as farm helping spirits. They're very earthy spirits. They will help with your household chores, but they prefer you keep your house clean. They're not going to do all the work for you. Now, brownies on the outside sound fantastic, wonderful, and amazing, and sweet, and kind, but they have a vindictive side. They're very fond of animals, so if you mistreat any of your pets, they're going to come for you. They do not like a messy home, so if you keep it messy, they're probably going to leave. If you disrespect them, they will come for you. They will take your things. They like shiny things. They will pick them up and walk off with them. They will also pick up and walk off with your favorite things just because. They are typical to a lot of other fae in the fact that they like sweets, they like milk and honey, they like candies, they like toys, and they like children. They can be very playful, but if you get on their bad side, they will create total chaos in your home. They will break your things, they will ruin your stuff, and they will take stuff and never give it back. Fae trap. Also fae trap. That's a fae trap. I have been tagged or sent all of those so many times now. Fae traps. All of those are fae traps. And I've seen more on here. The fern one, there are lots of waving ferns. That spinning flower, though, that's wild. But yes, those are all obvious fae traps. Don't mess with the fae traps. Or do, you know, it's your life. But you should all definitely tag me in more obvious fae traps. Especially if you find people that touch them. Or walk into them. Or leave with them. This intrigues me. And amuses me greatly. Like, more fae traps. I need more fae traps. Please. I don't know, that waving fern. I'd have to wave back. I'd have to. Getting to know the fae. Today we're going to talk about gnomes. Now this one was a request. Gnomes are another one of the earth spirit fae, as they do live within the earth and work with it in the plants. They live under the ground rather than up on the surface like a lot of other fae do. They are big fans of gardens, but they do prefer vegetable gardens to flower gardens because they're big fans of roots. They work hand in hand with dryads a lot as they help tend to the root system of the trees that the dryads live in. Now there are some old folklore tales that say that gnomes turn to stone during the day under the rays of the sun, which is probably where your garden gnome statues came from. But there's also an old folklore story that states that forest gnomes turn into toadstools during the day when they're exposed to the rays of the sun. So depending on the region, how far back you read, etc., you're going to find different little folklore stories about gnomes and about other fae as well. But that's the gist of gnomes. They're good-natured earth spirits. Some of the oldest folklore referred to them more as earth spirits than anything else. Getting to know the fae. Today's species is elves. Elves are a very European and Germanic belief, traveling up into the Nordic and Icelandic regions. There are actually caves in the Icelandic area that are protected by the government because 3/4 of their residents believe that elves reside there. Elves are going to be the most similar to humans in size and stature, and they're also largely the ones who are behind changelings, the species that would exchange a fae child for a human child, and that fae child is a changeling. Elves are believed to be the protectors of the forest and wooded area. Though they largely stay away from humans, you will find them amongst humans. And they're very communal. They live in groups. They have a fairly mild, almost human-like temperament, but they will get very angry and seek revenge if they feel offended. And one way that you can offend them is by comparing them to other fae. They're not big fans of that. The chuckle cackle laugh that came out of my mouth when I read this. I guess this is the content today. Today's content is fae traps, and don't do it, it's your life, whatever, you know. But yes, absolutely. We are going to treat fae traps with stripper rules. Look, but don't touch. You can look all you want. It's there to look at. Don't touch it. You look with your eyes, not with your hands, not with your feet. You know what I wouldn't want to meet? The Fae's bouncer. I wouldn't want to meet the Fae's bouncer. I'm scared of what that may be. Like, who is it that intervenes and responds when you touch and you're not supposed to? Alright, look. I can't with y'all. The defiance in these comments is real. I can't tell y'all what to do, right? I can't. You're grown, you make your own decisions. I can only strongly suggest from experiences that you shouldn't do certain things. But you know, it's y'all's life, right? If you want to walk out in the woods, climb up some stairs, open a door, walk through the Fae circle, and meet them, they're scary. I am still going to tell you not to threaten to eat them, though, because I'm not even joking. I have had car problems ever since I made that threat. They won't leave. But in all seriousness, there are people who work with the Fae. People leave them offerings, people give them gifts. I'm not. But that's just me, you know. Y'all's life. Damn. Okay, so you got me there. Yeah. Yeah, take the Fae over that situation as well. They might eat me. They might blow up my car. They might steal all of my stuff and refuse to ever leave again. Among other things. And I kind of value my eyeballs. But yeah. I like my odds better with them than that situation right there. I think your comment wins so far. So far, your comment wins. Damn. Hi, it's me. I'm the dumbass that threatened to eat the Fae. And since it's been asked for so many times, and questioned so many times in those comments, I will tell the story of the dumb decision to threaten to eat the Fae. It was 5 or 6 years ago after I moved into this house. We'd been here for a little while, we're settled in, and all of my stuff kept disappearing. Specifically witchy things. More specifically, a pendulum that I really, really liked. They took it. They took a wand, they've taken keys, they've taken necklaces, they've taken a lot. And I got frustrated, and I was arguing, seemingly, you know, with the air around me, but I was arguing with the house Fae. And I was looking for that pendulum because I really wanted to use it, and I may or may not have screamed out, "I will eat you!" I said that was like 5 or 6 years ago. They're still fucking with me. They won't go away. They took that as a fucking challenge. To the tune of... I had 3 cars just basically fall apart in a span of 5 years. Yeah. I have had appliances systematically break down over those few years. I have had constant plumbing problems with my house. My thermostat changes settings on me, and as a result will jack my power bill up to $600 a month. Lights just won't turn on when I try to turn them on, even though the bulb isn't blown. Don't threaten to eat your house Fae. And if you do, don't expect to ever get that item back, because it's not coming back. It's just not. The Seelie and Unseelie courts. Now, in English, Scottish, Irish, and Welsh folklore, there may be a couple of others that I can't think of right now, the Fae world has 2 courts. Those being the Seelie and the Unseelie. Your Seelie court is going to contain your Fae species that are more lighthearted, kinder, more inclined to seek aid from humans or help humans. But, at the same time, they will avenge insults and offenses to them. So while they are kinder, they are still prone to things like mischief, pranks, and revenge. Now, your Unseelie court are your more darkly inclined Fae species, many of which who have been known to attack without provocation whatsoever. So they're two sides to the same coin in the Fae world, but it's almost like categorization of the light versus the dark. And there's a long list of species who belong to each one of these two courts. Getting to know the Fae. Let's talk about Kobolds, or Kobolds, depending on the region and the dialect. A kobold is a fae or a sprite or a spirit from Germanic folklore, and it migrated into other areas of Europe, and in other places they were known as goblins or hobgoblins. Now there's a couple of variations of the kobold in folklore, one of which is a mischievous household spirit or household fae that would help with chores, but would do things like run off with tools and farm equipment, very similar to the brownie. The other variation of the kobold was found in mines and in caves, and you'll actually find that variation used in a lot of RPG game lore. That'll be the variation of the kobold that you see in a lot of those. Now, the folklore of the kobold actually survives today in modern Germanic folklore, and it's not something that is of the forgotten past. Fae trap. Fae trap. Fae trap.
If ever seen a Fae trap, that's definitely
Fae trap. Little Fae teepee. That's Fae trap. Fae trap. Nope, that's not a Fae trap. That's a don't fucking touch that. That's what that is. Don't walk in that. Don't walk between those mirrors. Do not touch that. Back away. That's a witchy don't.
Can you explain this to me right now?
Fae trap, and I'm gonna poke it with a stick.
What the fuck?
You know, you can't never listen to what a hater has to say. Those are all Fae traps. I don't give a fuck. Well, not that last one though. That's a don't touch that. That is a don't. That is a witchy don't. Don't touch that. But those are fucking Fae traps. Fight me. Witchy don'ts. Fae don'ts. We're gonna talk about the Fae. So I get a lot of questions about Fae. Predominantly, what are they? But I've covered that so many times, I'm not gonna repeat it again. Can I be friends with the Fae? What if I want to go in the Fae portal? What do the Fae do? Are the Fae nice? Are the Fae friendly? You know, questions like these. Normal questions. So let's answer a few of them. Are the Fae nice? They can be. But you have to keep something in mind about the Fae. They are not human. That means that they do not possess human morality. They have a form of morality that is all their own. What you think is mean and cruel, that's not mean and cruel to them. What you think is friendly and nice is not friendly and nice to them. And just because they're friendly to you today does not mean that they will continue being friendly with you in the future. They are fickle, they are mischievous, and they operate on their own sense of morality, and they essentially do whatever they want. Now, can you work with the Fae? Yes, many people do. There's nothing wrong with that. If you are aligned with the Fae and you work with them, more power to you. That's fantastic. I'm happy for you. I don't work with the Fae personally, but I do know that they can turn on you if they choose to, or if they're bored. As far as, can I jump into a Fae portal and go live with X creature that I read in a book? No. 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 The Fae that you're reading about in the books are not the Fae that are on the other side of the portal. And if you jump in a Fae portal, there's no guarantee that you're actually going to go anywhere. You could just lose your memory of your entire childhood, or, you know, just yesterday. Stuff might go missing out of your pockets.
You could go missing for hours or days and then suddenly reappear. Now, lots of different things can happen on the other side of that Fae portal. You could get eaten, because that's the thing. And this is not anti-Fae propaganda. Again, I say, if you work with the Fae, that's great. Keep doing you. That's fantastic. I'm happy for you. Just, I know for a fact that Fae are not always nice by human standards. Can you play with the Fae? You can. A lot of them really like to play. A lot of them also really don't like humans. Some really do like humans. Some of them love children. Some of them hate children. It's going to depend on what kind of Fae you're dealing with and what you're interacting with as to whether or not you can play with them. There's so much more information. This would be a 30-minute long video if I kept going. So, okay, bye. If you've got questions, let me know and I'll try to answer more Fae questions. Again, getting to know the Fae, the Lorelei. The Lorelei is a German water spirit that is also known as the Siren. In typical Siren fashion, they could be seen sitting atop the cliffs off the water side, and they would use their siren song to lure sailors to their untimely deaths on the rocks below. Now, the Lorelei is the personification of pretty much every water spirit in Central Europe. They share aspects with the majority of them. Now, contacting them is not advised by anyone, because while they are beautiful young women spirits, they are not friendly, and they really only have one goal. Now, there is an English counterpart to the German Lorelei, and that is called Mary Player, who does something similar, being that they're a counterpart spirit. So the Lorelei is pretty, but it's a no touchy and a no talky to. Getting to know the Fae, the Geancanach. Now, the Geancanach is another of those benevolent home spirits from Irish folklore, and they are a fire-based Fae. They are said to be very small, only, 3 to 4 inches in height at most. And they're very pixie-like. Pointed ears, large eyes that curl upward into points at the end, and they have a set of wings, but the wings don't function. The Geancanach travels instead by dematerializing and rematerializing elsewhere, so teleporting. I wish I had that. Again, they're benevolent spirits, they're rather friendly, but they do like to play pranks like a lot of other species of Fae do. To them, these pranks are harmless, but in the eyes of a human, it might not be so harmless. And if you would like to leave them offerings, they're also similar to other Fae in the aspect that they like milk, cream, honey, and other sweets. They're kind of your stereotypical Fae species. Getting to know the Fae, drakes. Now, drakes are English fire spirits. They are said to be the benevolent protector of the home and hearth. If you don't have a hearth, benevolent protector of the home. Now, a drake has never been seen by human eyes. It is said that you smell them rather than see them, and they come with a rather foul odor. It's been described as being similar to that of rotten eggs and chicken poop. So think kind of a sulfuric-ish smell. Now, they're benevolent and they are friendly, protectors of the home and hearth, and you would attract them by leaving out food and a source of warmth or lighting your fireplace if you have one. And they will leave if they are unwelcome in your home. They don't put up a fight about it. They don't really care too much for that. And it's not been uncommon that they be seen as unwelcome in the home because of their odor. So they're frequently found in wood piles and in old trees, and it's said that in exchange for being allowed to stay in your home, they will do things like multiply your dry firewood, which, that tracks, they're a fire spirit. And they do that simply in exchange for having a place in your home to stay. Getting to know the Fae, the Bantigue. The Bantigue is from Irish folklore. Another name that they have gone by is our housekeeper, and they are an earth-based spirit. They have the exact opposite temperament as a Banshee, and it's believed that they appear in the form of a small, elderly woman in peasant-like clothing. They are very, very friendly, and they prefer to have friendly humans to care for and look after. They're very similar to the Scottish Brownies that I've talked about before. One slight difference is rather than just household chores and such, the Bantigue enjoy taking care of children. They're very fond of them. As offerings, being that they're earth spirits, they would like things that are more earthly in nature, but truthfully what they ask for in return for their housekeeping help and their care is your kindness. They're very big on kindness. Now, the Bantigue are active all year round, but they are the most active between Samhain and Beltane. Getting to know the Fae. Alvin. A-L-V-E-N. Now, Alvin are from the Netherlands. They are a water Fae, and they are nocturnal. They are a moon-based creature, and like most moon creatures, they like to sing and dance and play under the moonlight. They have been known to wear the pelt of an otter while doing their dances under the moon. And they are generally a friendly Fae species, unless the human in question has destroyed their home or destroyed the flowers that are sacred to them. And being that they are nocturnal and they are moon creatures, those sacred flowers would be night-blooming flowers. So they would extend malice to someone who has destroyed those plants or the place that the Alvin call home. Now, they are said to have bodies that are so light that they are almost invisible, and rather than traveling with wings, they float in a bubble of water. Now, fish are their enemies, the only known enemies that they have, and as such, they prefer to be in an environment that is enclosed and does not have any fish in it, but still has water.
Fae in South Africa. Now, there are many species of Fae-related spirits that exist in the region of Africa. Yesterday, we did a species from West Africa, and today, by request, I'm doing one from South, and that is the Abatwa or Abatwa. I'm not 100% on the pronunciation. If you know it, please let me know. Now, the Abatwa are very tiny. They live amongst the ants, and they even ride on them because of their small size. But do not let that fool you, because they are wildly protective of themselves due to their size. They are skilled hunters using poison darts and poison arrows. Stepping on one by accident could very easily be a death sentence for you. Now, their origins is when the nature spirit Vashnok, again, correct my pronunciation please, cried. And when those tears hit the surface and burst, the Abatwa were born. Now, some other species in Africa would be the Aziza, but that's also more Western Africa. And one that is more akin to a cryptid than it is to a fae, and that would be the Tokoloshi. If you would like to hear more about either one of those, let me know in the comments, and I'd be happy to do another educational post on this mythology, because honestly, African mythology is not spoken about enough, and it is a very fascinating set of mythology, folklore, and legend.